So, welcome back to another episode. And today I wanted to show you guys something that I kickstarted probably about a year and a half ago, and it's finally showing up. And that is the box set Blu-ray for Bubblegum Crisis. And so many people are out there going, what the fuck is Bubblegum Crisis? It is one of the most important animes of my youth, and one that had a major effect on me. And I wanted to give an introduction to it first, tell you guys a little bit about it. Now, it all started for me back in 1988. It might have been 88, 89. I went to a comic book convention. I was really into this, comic books, American comic books. And I just discovered something called anime. I discovered that through Robotech, Space Cruiser Yamato. I love this stuff. I was really getting to become a big fan of anime. But there was nothing really out in this country. It was very, very small and few and far between. So being a comic book guy, I'm like, yeah, I'll go to a comic book convention. Now let me tell you, in 88 and 89, comic book conventions were not what they are today. Okay? There was no booth babes, there was no cosplay, there was nothing like any of that. It was a secret cult of nerdy guys and the odd female, that would go to these conventions, and they would just walk around silently and go to vendors and buy comic books. And it was a very, very, very strange and very underground. I can't stress that enough. It didn't have the fanfare and coolness of conventions nowadays have. It wasn't very kind of cool to go to a comic book convention. If I was in high school, I didn't tell any of my friends that I was going to go. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to this thing on the weekend. Yeah, it's a comic book meetup thing. It sounded bad. So while I was there, I was looking around for my, web of Spider-Mans and all that back then. And I, picking up the odd manga, translated comic from Japan, if I could find it. That was very hard to find as well back then. And I'm walking around this convention, and let me tell you, I walked around the room in 10 minutes, and I bought everything I wanted to buy for that day. Man, it's so funny. I walked around, I was near the back of the convention where there's this major wall, and there's a doorway. That's all there was, sounds like there's a peep show in the back. It's kind of funny. But in front of the door was a table just like this. And there was a couple of guys sitting there. And I looked over, and what grabbed my attention was they had a bunch of books and like magazines on the table that were Japanese anime. And it was like, what the fuck? Holy shit. This sounds funny. Oh my god, other people who are into this? Is this possible? I was on my own into anime. I was kind of really on my own, collecting books, my comic stores, all that kind of stuff. Nobody, I had nobody to share this with. So I went over to these guys, and they were older guys. I must have been around 14-ish, 14, 15. And I was talking to them, and they were in their, later 20s. They were, and I can't say this enough, they were the coolest people, man. They were such a fanatics of anime. They lived on an island, Victoria, and they had taken a ferry to bring over their collection of Japanese videotapes, VHSs at the time, and they just wanted to bring them over and show them in this convention, this back room, to show them like how fucking cool anime was to people. That's all they wanted to do. They were like cultists in a way, yes. Come check out our cult of anime. You might get hooked on this, and they just wanted you to experience what they experienced, and that's what I was like. I enjoyed anime so much, I wanted to tell everybody about it. So it was so cool to be able to talk to these guys, and for them to relate to me, and I could relate to them. And I was a younger guy, but I was very passionate, as I am now, and but they were really, really cool. And so they're like, yeah, if you're into anime, you're like this, you're like, I said to them, I'm into Megazone, Macross, all that. They're like, well, you know what, we're going to put on an anime in about 10 minutes, and you've got to watch this. I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, yeah, it's fan subtitled. I'm like, okay, sure, fan subtitled, cool. Most of, I couldn't believe that I was going to watch, it was my first, subtitled, anime. Like, I'd never seen anime subtitled before. So I go in the back room. It's so funny. Smell like BO. It was dark. There was one, old, wooden television. Okay? And a couple of people. I mean, nobody. And I was there with a couple of friends from school, a couple of comic book collectors who I could relate to about comic books, but they weren't into anime. And we sat down. One of them was Rob's brother, which is kind of a cool story. And we sat down, and they put in Bubblegum Crisis, the first episode. And we watched this thing. And what Bubblegum Crisis is it is the accumulation of what makes, anime fucking the coolest shit in the world. It had, it was cyberpunk. It had, good-looking girls in it. Mecha, like really cool mecha, transforming mecha. Such a cool art style. So many shades of colors per level. So if something was blue, it had 3 shades of blue. Like a level of detail that you were not finding in anime over here. And this edgy adult storyline that I sat there and it was just like, it was fucking incredible. It was so titillating. That's the only word I can come out with. Give me a break here. It's the only word I can come out with. It just sparked something. Like Robotech had started something for me, but this had taken it to another level. This is showing me like, holy fuck. This is when I started. I couldn't stop drawing anime stuff after this. I mean, I kind of dropped American comics and stuff like that, and just went straight into heavy collecting of anime for the next rest of my life. Really, I still collect, American comic books to a certain extent, but I was obsessed at that point with Japanese animation. I had incredible obsession that has lasted to this day that I can't shake, and nor do I want to shake. But I can't tell you the impact that Bubblegum Crisis made on me, and it's 8 OVAs, original video animations, animation that was created strictly for video in Japan. It went directly to video. Huge market for that in Japan, and they made a lot of money back then with it. So what was cool is this club, and they were the Victoria Japanese Animation Club. They became very friendly with me, and I started sending them VHS tapes, and they would record these animes on stuff for me, like Fist of the North Star, Project Echo, and they would send them to me on VHS. I had a beta player at the time, so they did beta for me, so they were really not, they were extra nice. And so I'd wait like 3 months and a tape would show up, and I was like, and then I'd go around getting all the kids in the neighborhood and say, you've got to watch Bubblegum fucking Crisis, this is insanity. And most of the so the first one I saw was subtitled, the second one I got was not. And it kind of was like that. Some were subtitled, some were not. Some were like 5th generation tapes. It was really, some of it was very hard to watch. It wasn't very nice, but it was so nice years later, and I was able to get an Anime Ego, the company that finally got the rights to Bubblegum Crisis, and they brought it over here, and they brought it over here in VHS form and Laserdisc form, and here's my Laserdisc of it that I got. Pretty amazing back in the days, Jesus. And finally, years later, I was able to pick it up on DVD. What can I say? Like, what is this story about Bubblegum Crisis? It's heavily influenced, and Blade Runner is my favorite film of all time. It is heavily influenced by the best of American cinema. It's heavily influenced by Terminator, Blade Runner, all these great kinds of things. In fact, there's so many references in Bubblegum Crisis to Blade Runner. It's not even funny. The name of the band is the Replicants. Okay, there's a lot of other the main character Pris, just like Pris in Blade Runner. There's so many references like that, but where it takes place in a future that's kind of like Blade Runner in a lot of ways, but where technology is really taken over. And there's a company called Genome, and they are creating things called boomers, and they're kind of like assassinating, army weapons, and they're into creating these types of things. And there's these girls, one of them is Pris in this band, and her friends, and they all work in different places in the city, band up to create a group called the Night Sabers, and they all wear like this really cool armor. Honestly, you have to see this thing. It's very, very cool. And they're fighting against the Genome Corporation and the Boomers, and it's a very simple way I'm describing it, but I don't want to give away all the plots of this thing. You've got to see this. It's really that good. I would give Bubblegum Crisis a 10 out of 10. I've probably seen the first OVA over 100 plus times. Over 100 plus times. So that is my what kind of got me started into Bubblegum Crisis. And here is a year and a half ago, there was a Kickstarter to take the standard definitions of the original show, of the original OVA, and transfer it to Blu-ray. Now, what's exciting is this just arrived, and I haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched it on Blu-ray yet. I cannot wait to watch it on Blu-ray. I love all the music too. The music is incredibly memorable. I have all the soundtracks in the other room as well, but here is the premium edition that I got, that I pre-ordered from Kickstarter a year ago through Anime Ego. And let's just show a few of the things in here. So here's our main character, Patches, and I really like that they made patches of the Night Sabers here. I could actually put another patch here. Patches were really big in the 80s, and I'm really happy to see them make a comeback in this box set. The next thing is postcards. Postcards that I will never be sending to anybody. Very, very cool. Yeah, this is a classic photo. But yeah, that's awesome. I'll never be sending these out. But Pris coin here. And what is this? Mega Tokyo and AD Police. That is the name of the police force. One of the main characters is Leon in the AD Police. He is awesome. He's got a big crush on the main character, and he's a good guy though. He's a guy who does things in the show. He's not a wimp. I love his main character as well. Leon's a great character in there. So, AD Police, keychain there. And what have we got here? Here we go. Finally, the Bubblegum Crisis. Wow, this is great to have after all this time. I'm so happy that they're taking standard definition, incredible old school anime shows and doing these great restorations on them. I will support any and all of them. I will, for sure. So it comes in 3 discs. Here's disc 1. I think that's episodes 1 to 3. Here's the second one. We got 4 to 6. And then we have 7, 8, and the extras. Really nice covers on these as well. And a little bit more compact than the old DVDs. So I'm so happy to get this. I cannot wait to go and experience Bubblegum Crisis again. And I can't wait to show Kim it. Kim has never seen the show, and the story is really told in the 8 OVAs. There's other Bubblegum Crisis episodes. There's Bubblegum Crash, and then there's the AD Police Files. But I'm not huge on those, and I'm also not huge on some of the sequels. But Bubblegum Crisis has a place for me that is just so nostalgic and such a game changer. I really can't stress enough that Bubblegum Crisis was a really huge anime for the time. Like Evangelion came out years later, and that was a game changer. Bubblegum Crisis was a game changer. It really brought the term OVA to the forefront. Megazone had done it, but this really, really did. So what a great Blu-ray box set. And I believe that there's still some box sets left after the Kickstarter has ended now. So these are kind of hard to get. I will look it up for you, and I will put a link down below if anybody's interested in upgrading to the cool new Blu-rays. I can't stress enough how excited I am to watch these tonight. So, guys, I just wanted to share some of my love and excitement for the Blu-rays and of Bubblegum Crisis in general, a great old school anime from my childhood. So, anyways, guys, until next time.